hi there. Just woke up. And all over again with the Sodoma stench up in my sleep. Not like I will be with any one of those abominables, but suddenly the ways of them to having me like a possession, a price, and very prized possession, for they to play the powers of the world. And this is hilarious to me as well. So suddenly I will be like a very Turk all around, that will pretend of something that I will never be. And the truth of the whole emergencies that we have here as in the world that still remains and never stopped to happen. I'm in my address, like you can see, still. I slept here. I'm tired, I am feeling really bad, I am not resting biologically like I came saying to International Criminal Court and much other. Biologically asleep, but ain't no rest in me, and it is not organic, and there's not like I will have any deficiencies. There is for the permanent damages I'm receiving, and especially spiritual, which I don't leave of the which thought over makes a bed to me, so I cannot sleep. There is a different characteristical reality. Well, I woke up this morning and I'm found that a lot of friends are still on the raid, massive raid. Still people kidnapped by the command of Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, Aníbal Fernandez, for they to be massively raped and murdered. And this disgusting abominable to saying not an else word about this government and nothing else to say and to do at all. Because of this, we're enough and we are not going to tolerate. I am not going to tolerate you, disgusting prostitute of hell. I'm sorry my terms, people, but this is it. And it's the truth, the fact, the certainly reality we live every day. Well, they're supposed to be in jail, but there is missing that everybody gotta be raped and murdered before to taking me up. Even in the States. Insistes. Sodoma Obsessive Degeneration 666. Argentina. Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina, Armed Forces Argentina. In the part of 4, thousands of victims all around still. And way much. And the truth around this all is that even now there are those evangelics that insist in delirium. There are a lot of victims, and there are a lot of used, manipulated, abducted, and they think that Lord speaks them up and are premeditated to being just a piece of meat for destructions, but the responsible ones and are alive. The liars that Lord speaks them and they know what they do. And Adonai wants them where they belong, not in heaven. So the reality of this all comes around. For about a lifetime, but the legacies of Brain and Carnival since 1976, bodies of Sodoma Ejército Argentino came from France and Suez in the titles of Christians, evangelics, authorities of Lord, giving them the help and the support into destroying me. they started BLYTT GH'EDH'TH'AH'E. We are going to prophetize, and we know the person that has the power given by God. And this one is not going to do what you say he's going to. And if this is going to rise and to destroy the country, we are going to put it in a place for this to not do nothing else. Prophecies of demons and witches of Sodoma, degenerados, Ejército Argentino. And this disgusting prostitution kind always at the service for the generation. All through my life since my 5, everything came like a nasty nightmare, non-stopping. So suddenly, the reality of the soul comes ALEJANDRO. Guillermo Brain started making its business whenever I were handed by them like those witches are, and as witches does, and delivered into that prostatic ba'antarot, which is exactly a brothel with a pardon for the victims a lot. A 10 brothel, a 10 nest of Alibaba and its 124,000. All thieves, all degenerates, and says, Lord, gave me. All prostitutes with the pardon of the victims, and says, Lord, hold me. And all degenerates and says, Lord, didn't help me when I needed. And are all liars, thieves, manipulative witches, and says, because of Lord didn't answer me, which said, would. And there are no poor, no one, except the victims. And says, because of Lord named me, so I'm going to get what Lord said me, no matter who says no. Whenever no Lord said nothing, except the devil. And we're all through this last 11 years, unstoppable, and praying especially since 1995, non-stopping, making all lies, degenerations, manipulations, forgery, associations with criminals, of armed forces, rapists of whole age, whole gender, even dogs. Saying, what's the matter you now, and what do you have with me? What's the matter you with me? And attacking and destroying and murdering and raping and sodomizing because of the command of God. Guillermo Brain's bodies, making the business with them to robbing, raping, destroying, disappearing people, and taking shares over what the possessions they had after murdered, and saying, Adonai Kaven us in the name of the Lord. And making up any kind of a crop to making less humanity. Robbed us, and we're all the time making this and making that. And the friends of us, seeing Cristina Kirchner and Aníbal Fernández, seeing Justice Powers Argentina, they will help us, and arming and lying and making all the generations and making shares over the Jews and victims for less humanity. Murders them and whole possessions, sharing. At like Gidi Ka'at Ichat Asmod. And there are in this Guillermo Brain snake, devil, and its horse, a death around the human race and the reality of the creation in the name of Hashem first. About GH'EDH'TH'AH'E GH'EDH'TH'AH'E with 2,889,286 less humanity made on persons' names to destroying them and taking them possessions all through Argentina, UNICEF, US, and Europe. GH'EDH'TH'AH'E, Ejército Argentino, Prefectura Naval Argentina, Policía Federal Argentina, its bodies always were behind with them making the same thing, the bodies of them, not everybody. And this is a very chaos and a permanent destruction all over, all around. And there is not permitted to talking nothing else about this government, and nothing else will be done. Is exactly the excuse for everybody to try to be in jail, silenced, destroyed, suppressed, murdered, and delivered into rapes because of it's our law and our code, of course. Whatever to be, whatever age, whatever gender, even kids, and even dogs. Because of even dogs can say, there says, oh yes, a dog can say and show a lot. Especially those that you, Ejército Argentino, says that are the alpha male, to making orals to them after rape them, and after you do 3 times rape the dog, making the sacrifice for saying that you will have the authority to govern the world. I'm so delirious. Right. Degenerados. Abominable tacti. And well, the reality of this all is the GH'EDH'T'AH'E and the reality of the So the reality of this soul delivered us into, with officialism Argentina and the IRVARD called Logia Argentina, which got powers all inside the justice powers institutions of Argentina and Congress. Guillermo Supreme were making this all over around here and in the world, in the States, making the GH'EDH'T'AH'E international justice affairs with the Sodoma degenerates that it has inside Federal Police of Argentina and Prefectura and Gendarmeria saying Argentinian law, and this is a serious allegations for crime and criminals against the government of the Argentina, and this person's poor evangelics who raise against the evangelics GH'EDH'T'AH'E, of course. So am I supposed to keep on delirium all the day, but the same disgusting prostitutes of Cristina Kirchner and Aníbal Fernandez, and this all, saying that I got a psychiatric character all the time, especially with the armed and maiden act, judicial, like this has a business all the time, with all forgery, all lies, all degeneration, and all accomplices, but thousands, while murders and destroyers all around comes to be a very market on me, especially the brains and Sodoma. Did you ever know, while I have breakfast, that all through this last years, I were a business of Babylonic evangelics and witches of Sodoma, Argentina. I remember when this all started to be. I were making a very special, supposed to libraries and supposed to robbing them. Communication with the whole as it give sound already published up on the whole world, in all the states. Whenever they just prayed and made in that prayers, and having that prayers, just went around asking Hashem Adonai that if atlet ishki avachani JH'DH'T'AH'E chaydi insini al techni menorat al ashmachat, will ever be around the will of his, he to answer them at the way of supporting and help them for GH'EDH'TH'AH'E. They wanted to start building something different and giving other kind of things and have more than questions and needs. So suddenly Adonai started making his job, and suddenly came to be what happened. Well, at the reality of this whole, Adonai started making whatever he thought there to be done. So the communication started to be different, the way started to be different, and Adonai started giving all around. And this degenerates watching God said, this is something and we are not going to lose it. And saying, go to the doctors, to the ones of the TORÁH with the Ejército Argentino, and the ones inside of the BFA and BNA, and start to making the GH'EDH'T'AH'E tell Cuerpo Médico Forense, Forensics Corp, BJN, Justice Argentina, Justice. God. To making this, that we are starting this, and they too making what we are going to tell them to do. GH'EDH'TH'AH'E in scene. And the ones of the government of the city of Buenos Aires to attend the requestments of this, or we will kill them all. Yes, for our friends inside of the government of the city of Buenos Aires, we know who they are and what they do. They to be ready for making what we are commanding. And all of the business and whatever they to request to us they want to have, we are going to get in. With the whole of the already manipulated and made up and started for the reigning over the whole battle in the company and rolling up on the whole GH'EDH'TH'AH'E armed, made up cause, saying Argentinian law and Argentinian justice by law, this one is a demon. Over the inventions and the generations of this, Sodoma, abominables, and Forensics Corp, BJN Argentina. Simply came this reality and let us get a GH'EDH'TH'AH'E which is exactly what they were making up and manipulating, which they do all the time. Use a fruit of the whole of the institutions, of the whole of the titles, powers, for the making criminals' affairs, criminals' business. They are criminals, so they do criminal business organized inside in the whole of the government institutions. That's what they live off and for. So suddenly, this is Cristina Kirchner and officialism, and Guillermo Brain and Osvaldo Carnival with them. At the reality of the soul, the Tatika Shefataleti Tasmane Chachaleti Sikim Bil Isheche. It is Le Ereta Fa'encho Al Ishka Nachat Sahat. Well, it was simple like starting to rolling the plan, which in 2005 were made and Basigalupo and this disgusting prostitute Wegmeister here and Wegmaster there, for they're saying still mistaking and this the liars and has a record and we know. So suddenly there is the wrong thing, and this cannot be possible because of Argentinian law and state of rights, and we know exactly this, and of course, and we are going to, because of there is nothing like this, and this person doesn't exist this, but this is this that we know, and presents the whole of the already now 228,404 made them up supposed justice causes that no one knocked at my door for no appointing, for a no hearing, for a no ratification about whatever they says I denounced, besides the rest all, except the ones I already denounced up to the International Criminal Court. That they has everything. And no justice came up to my door. Instead that kept on manipulating for the using my family and making shadows all around like the 666 told them, well, demons, are, to making an isolating fog all around of confusion and manipulating people's institutions internationally, nationally, and every kind of a crap all around with the machinery of the demons and whores on the psychiatrist title for the suppressing and destroying and deflecting a whole reality and a whole condition about radicals on the society, institutions, and international for once. A machinery of sodomaki that generates on the Federal Police of Argentina were permanently under arrest, and we know what for. See, assembled all kind of a porn in the generations, virtually, and the truth over this all, that they needs to say that I am a degenerate and a junkie and an abomination for a twice in another radicals, nationally, socially, institutionally, and internationally. And certainly, because of it is a dangerous criminal organized internationally and a terrorist, and we know this, of course, and we are going to prove you. See, more forgery, degenerations, lies, and organized abomination all through the whole of the world. And nobody that reached me out saying rights of state, this is a prisoner of our government, and also offense and damage the government, so must pay, of course. Such a delirium that says, oh yeah, such a delirium, right? So the reality of this soul is nobody else says nothing, silencing and keep on forwarding the generations that all the time we're making and making summatory of abominations like they are. Then, all through this last 11 years, I were a very significant portion of the generates, rapists of whole gender, whole age, and evangelics of Babylon whores, and all which degenerate that were like this, permanently lying, manipulating, and making all kind of other generations for a business. I came to be like a very possession for witches, rapists, degenerates, abominables, thieves, forgers, disgusting hell rats, genociders, and all abomination business, like taking supplies from me for they to be, for the making an abominable machinery of the generates, saying that with that they will govern into the world, and having my health, my mental health, my equilibrium of the mental, my emotional capacity, and my everything that I will be into, all around for the number that they to be they could ever have, and possessing and being so marvelous, amazing up on the whole the world. And God said, because of the Lord giving that special prophecy, everything that the menorah and the anointed, Basem Hashem, God himself on the 7 anoints, God punished, and because of what done to the evangelic anointed, and said about offense, Schlag. Lord himself said, everything of this because of have done the damages to belongs to Sodoma, Jedaiah. I wonder, the institution of the menorah, Adonai will give to demons. Will Adonai giving his holiness and his reality for the cause of himself and his own purpose, for the reality of his name, to his enemy? And I am a fraud, a liar, a manipulative one, and I were also stealing them. Help me! Help me! Those are the ones that were stealing us with this one! With me. And suddenly the reality of those people that went to attack and saying that they were stealing them are the ones that never done nothing but trying to make him better, and doing exactly the same to them like doing to me. Example. There are my friends all around this disgusting dim land with the burden of afforded and victims and innocents, and where suddenly a lot destroyed, abducted, manipulated, and delivered into abominations, with they didn't do nothing and trying to get out, while evangelics were doing this to us, and not everyone remained the victims. The same ever crop of hell ever. So suddenly, a lot of them were raped and destroyed and murdered, and still. A lot of others were put it under kidnap, saying Argentinian law and justice with the making up the generations, with the conscience, premeditation, purpose for the raping and murdering them, and they are under rape. Like every time and every year we're doing permanently. And to rob them all, forging whatever the documents, forging whatever the signatures, forging whatever the anything, and find out the whole of the liars and false witnesses, and hold the generations of a machinery to saying, we're right. See, we're the government. Of course. Sodoma. And the reality of this all is exactly that I was supposed to be in this last night again, under a so Sodoma nymph. I were breathing for the whisper, there said, breathing for the whisper of the need of them, let's be delicated, insemination inside, and I needed that pleasure to feel and having everything in my life because of they were my total existence of passion, they says. If I will have my total existence of passion, but a piece of a degenerates, and the generations of a single clear idea, the most of the abominations, follies of rapists of the whole gender and whole age, and them inseminating, like the most of my life purpose, and that to be my person, I rather to never exist there, for the name of Yahweh. And the reality of this is that they are exactly that. The idea that everyone and everybody to be exactly that, especially my parents. You know? That's them frightened, disgusting, atrophied, conscience, abominablest existences of everyone. That's what they live off and for. And with this machinery of degenerates and psychiatrists' titles, and the whole of the degenerations of evangelics and witches, and the whole of the degenerations of scientifics of the National Security Agency of Argentina for the paranormal. We know it all, even its thoughts and feelings. Because of this is this way, and we know this, and psychiatrists said this is this way because of we know it. We started in all of the time, not him, him. This is what they said about minutes ago in front of the United Nations coalition to the liaison office, New York, which threats to murder, and even to US and Israel states, governments. So the reality of this, how will this be coming at the reality of us? My God, there is a simplicity, and there really is a simplicity. BLYTT, which I came on telling to be since 2004, and even 2003 when I were mentioned as, at the truth of what we go around. This is exactly what it is. Possessing one that it means the creed of the whole abominations they are to take in, of the whole of the best called holy and worth, to destroying until the last blood drop. GH'EDH'TH'AH'E. I'm giving you this at this April 4th, 2014. This is 10:09 Buenos Aires hour. And the reality of this soul, you will find it at https www. Nada es porque sí, nada puede ser real, de la mano de Oficialismo Argentino, Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina y Guillermo Horacio Brein. Porque la realidad no es de ellos, sino de Hashem. Y de Elia y Moshe, con Hashem. Shalah. Point INT, all followed, F8, OS recall, the last key, and perhaps I put another one. So remind us, GH'EDH'T'AH'E, ALEJANDRO, BLYTT GH'EDH'T'AH'E, GH'I'MH'TH, JH'DH'EDH'TH'AH'E, שמול JH'DH'EDH'TH'AH'E, LEJH'EDH'T'AH'E, ALEJANDRO מנחם. לא אברך אסית משען לכתוב, זימל אינדה שחיתית להם וכנף. דאבלת אתשתי אישת יתנחם, לין תייקב לאחדה שניגלם. Adonai is going to accomplish as he swore me. And Adonai is going to do what he said to me. And the reality of the whole of the GH'EDH'TH'E, GH'EDH'TH'AH'E, Adonai is going to put clear at the right time. And the justice will be executed. And the whole will be done as my God, my Father, my Creator and Owner, and of everyone of the name of Sion and Israel, is, were, and will be forever, the only God, with no demons' names associating, just Kadosh, 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 Yahweh Elohim, Melech, Hashem Adonai, Shalom. Buenos Aires, 10/12. Again this April 4th, 2014. Alejandro Mario Blanco.